Hello, friends, and welcome to the Mindfulness Advantage Show, where we engage in essential conversations with ordinary people just like you achieving the extraordinary. I'm your host, George E. Green, CEO and creator of the Mindfulness Advantage Advanced Training and Mentoring Systems. Our commitment to you, my friends, is to bring you relevant, resonant, thoughtful, focused, and provocative conversations and content more than worthy of your sharing and replay. I partner and train and mentor people from all walks of life, from blue collar to business executive, in an elegantly simple yet profoundly powerful set of tools, training, and daily practice that generates measurable upgrades to your focus, productivity, and more. My client partners and I collaborate together in creating those massive upgrades, and most importantly, creating greater satisfaction and fulfillment within their lives and within their worlds. If you desire to choose to imagine more, to imagine better, then join me and join our special featured guests right here every week on our new playground. This is your next and greatest adventure. Let's play. Today, my featured guest, Paul Samuel Dolman, and I are inviting you to join us in a deep dive into the realms of creating extraordinary flow in our lives. We'll be bringing Paul on in just a moment, right after our opening segment, First Words. Excuse me. What we're talking about today is flow, ease, and grace. All extraordinary states of mind and being, and unfortunately for most of us, all too rare and uncommon. In the book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, author Dan Millman invites us to consider that there are no ordinary moments. Many of us have had the experience of time seemingly standing still, where you quite literally are drinking in each emergent moment so fully and completely that all else save the present moment simply no longer exists. Those extraordinary moments of timelessness are just one wonderful example of you experiencing your own mindful moments. Whether you are profoundly moved by a passage of incredible music or the spontaneous moments of grace we experience here in nature, or perhaps even witnessing a poem performed and spoken with such presence and passion that we are drawn into the author's heart, vision, and emotional landscape as if it were our own. Throughout each of these experiences, we are all experiencing the uniquely sublime and singular moments of mindfulness and deep presence. There are so many simple yet miraculous moments such as these for you to savor and enjoy at every turn. The author-philosopher Simone de Beauvoir said once, "Life is occupied in both perpetuating itself and in surpassing itself. If all it does is maintain itself, then living is only not dying." Whether we like it or not, we are all wired for whatever becomes familiar to us, and for many, that is the reality we maintain. Now, on the other hand, you can choose at any time to embrace and embody your amazing, living, thriving, breathing, wondrous, laughing, awesome, loving reality through your own extraordinary mindful moments. The eternal truth is that in any given instant, you can harness your authentic desire to be and live so fully in the now that there are indeed no ordinary moments. Today, my dear friend and my guest joins me, Paul Samuel Dolman, author of the book Hitchhiking with Larry David. Hang on, Paul. There it is. There's the book, baby. Give me a second, Paul. I am struggling here to get you unmuted, sir. Paul, do me a favor. Take your cursor, take it up to the top of your screen, and look for the little microphone icon, and click it to unmute yourself. We are enjoying some more of Google. There it is, the Google Gremlins. Paul Samuel Dolman, finally. And I highly recommend this book. This book, everybody says this, but the reality is, can you get a little closer, Paul? The reality is, clearly from the reviews and the messages and notes of thanks that Paul continues to receive from writing this book, this is a life-changing book. And Paul, this is about a massive change and awakening in your life. So if you would kind of take us through the nutshell of what happened. You ended up on Martha's Vineyard with a bit of a broken heart and wondering what was next, yes?
Yes, and wouldn't it be fun to do the whole thing with me muted and trying to communicate in sign languages and
lip readers, get on the job, baby.
Perhaps pantomimes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that would be fun. The nutshell of the book, well, at least what you're talking about, is a man's search for meaning, and that would be me. And I had a breakup with a woman, and I went to Martha's Vineyard to seek solace. I went hitchhiking one day, and Larry David, the comedian, actor, creator of Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, picked me up hitchhiking. And so did a lot of other wonderful people. And it was a summer of learning and deep exploration, and it was magical and synchronistic. It was the only hitchhiker that Larry has ever picked up, and obviously will never pick up another hitchhiker again after the catastrophic consequences of my actions. So, and I had this great summer. I learned a lot, and then the last night of the summer, I had a dream that had me in this beautiful place that higher intelligence, deeper love, greater love invited me to write a book. Suggested I write a book called Hitchhiking with Larry David in this dream, semi-conscious place of in-between, and I thought, wow, what a beautiful idea, and where am I, by the way? And will I remember this? And I did remember it, and I came back to the earthly dream, this dream, not that different from that dream, and state or place, and a couple weeks later I started to just pour my heart out, and it came out, and I had no expectations. I wasn't writing a book. I was having an experience. I was very present with it. And this beautiful being came through with a lot of work, hard work, which I redefine work as just focus, love, and energy, because work has such a, for most people, sadly, in the world, a negative connotation.
That's a great reframe, by the way.
And focus, love, and energy on purpose is ideally. Find your purpose and focus your love and energy. And then if you want to call that work, but even then, it's the word, I feel like that word doesn't fit anymore. So focus, love, and energy on purpose. And I was born to do this, I realized in the process. And then forgot later. It's really funny, because after I had the book became this genie out of the bottle. It's had a magical ride, continues to, around the world. I got a letter a week or two ago from an astrophysicist in the Canary Islands off the coast of Africa who loved the book and compared me to Richard Bach, high praise, one of my favorite authors, and invited me to the Canary Islands. And then got invited to Toronto last week. I got a beautiful letter from a woman in Akron, Ohio, 66 years old. The next day, 81-year-old woman in Texas. Kids in Australia. I'm amazed. I'm in awe of both the universe and my experience in it. And one aspect of that would be this little beautiful genie called Hitchhiking with Larry David. And now I've just pretty much completed I think the final draft for book 2 this morning, so today's interview is quite timely. And that feels incredible because I get a lot of letters from people asking, what happened next? And then what? What about this? What about that? And so that will deal with that sequel, which I hope to have out before the 1st of summer, probably before June 1st, around June 1st. So, and I rediscovered in the process of creating, bringing forth, oh, I love this. This is what I'm here to do, and I'm fortunate that a few people like you and others have said, we like what you do, and we'll trade you a few of our Earth coupons for what you do, and then you can use those Earth coupons for green drinks and smoothies and espresso and traveling and haircuts.
Yes. Hey, I'm ready to get a stack of Earth coupons myself. Now, friends, the important thing here, this is the nutshell, but, you know, Paul and I are friends. We've known each other for 5 or 6 years. And how I experience Paul through his books and just through our friendship is, Paul, you make a career out of being in the moment in such a way that your life continues to generate the grace and ease and flow and these moments of serendipity. I remember one post you threw up on Facebook where it was a picture of your knees and toes in the sand on a beach, and that you had just found yourself on this beach and you were essentially chilling like a villain, and you looked over and some fella on another towel with his wife was reading your book. Now, how does that stuff happen unless you're in the grace and the magic of the moment? So let's talk a little bit about how you find yourself in that space of grace. Because I know there are a lot of people, including me on my worst days, where I'm like, how the heck do you get there?
Thanks for reminding me about that story. They were reading it out loud and laughing, and they didn't recognize me until the end. And I thought, oh, what fun. And my toes are in the sand and water on a giant magnet hurtling through space somewhere in the Milky Way galaxy, a name we made up. I don't know how it works, which is fun, but I do know how I have some tricks that I use personally to participate in it more freely, easily, and to accelerate it. And I plan to write about that too, and hopefully share it, because there's enough for everybody. If I'm more in the flow, doesn't mean someone is less in the flow. The flow is infinite and abundant. We are the flow. Our egos and our minds can block the flow. Mm-hmm. The distractions of society that have been set up take us from the flow with false promises of things that leave us emptier, both of earth coupons and of spirit. And that is what it is. Again, it's a choice. It's like a giant buffet that I get to choose what I want, the spectrum, you know. So I don't make anything wrong, and I don't want to make myself right. So that's a big thing, just to sort of be here now, which is the great Ram Dass and Eckhart Tolle, two great teachers, and the Buddha, and I think Jesus too. All the great teachers seem to say the same thing. So to be in this place, I feel like the flow whispers, it doesn't scream. So you have to be quiet and set up enough silence in your life and some time, like we're made time to connect here. So I need to create some time, make a date with my soul, my spirit, my inner voice to connect. And I like to do that in the morning, and I do it at night too. So I make some time, make time for relationships, whether both physical, linear, or non-linear, metaphysical. So if you make a space and a time for it, I find it always shows up. It's always there. I just create some space, and then I listen, and I let it guide me. And the more you exercise that muscle and that opening, I feel like a channel. It opens up. You get used to it, and I come from a place of just great trust that nothing can really happen to me. My carbon form, which is very temporary, will cease and can cease at any time. But the animated aspect that's truly me, that's not a male, female, or a name with a short story or a social security number or an author, that that cannot be touched in a sense, or ever taken. So I get to, that animation is playing through the form-based carbon stardust it created, which you call Paul. That said, I wouldn't want to go swim with a bunch of hungry great white sharks, or take risks with this precious carbon stardust that was created for me to enjoy this vast spectrum and sphere of visceral experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I've learned that I'm happier when I keep it simple. Like right now, I'm in Anastasia Island in Florida. I live by the beach. I love to write. I love to play with dogs. I eat well. I sleep well. I meditate. I hang out with good people. I help my parents who are aging as they helped me as I was aging also from a newborn. And I don't require a lot of mind nonsense to feel fulfilled. I like connection and just presence. And I absolutely stay away from the television at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while I'll drop in, like I dropped in and watched the Super Bowl, and I still can't figure out why Seattle didn't let Marshall Lynch run. I used to be a quarterback. But what struck me...
clearly one of the most epic fails in football or sports.
Unbelievable. And I felt heartbroken for everybody who was so close and cared about it, and the players. It shows you've got to be conscious of your decisions. And I'll tell you what struck me, too, on being not used to television, was how violent not only the game is, which obviously is, but that paled in comparison to the commercials and the video games, and just the violent nature of everything, and also just the ridiculously childish fantasy that is advertising. You know, you're going to buy something from a lizard and drive a truck up a mountain, and if you, no matter what you look like, if you open the right beer can or buy something, you're gonna, the supermodel's gonna be your partner and your lover. And it must work. They spend $1 trillion just beating people over the head with it. So I turn that off, and I turn the inner beacon, the radar, on, and I allow a lot of space for imagination and listening. And it's amazing. It'll tell you to walk up the hill, go here, go there, pay attention, look over there, for me. And I think every being or every organism is unique and special unto itself. So it's almost like the people who go to the gym are in better shape. The people that are listening and have a quieter mind are seem perhaps more guided, or they get lucky. But all kinds of stuff happens. I fell off a motor scooter about a month ago and banged myself up pretty bad. But I noticed the mind wanted to turn into a story of suffering, but I shifted it. Like, things like that happen, and it made me really appreciate how often those things are not happening, and how much worse it could have been, and to really take a better look around at all the suffering of others and feel more compassionate through my own pain, rather than just like, oh, the guy in the wheelchair has it bad, or the blind guy, or the limping person. So it was a positive. Granted, I would rather not feel that physical pain, but my soul must have wanted that experience, or I wouldn't have had it. You know?
Indeed.
So that's some of the tips.
Yeah. And I just want to kind of run through some of these, too, because, you know, for some people, you know, you may be coming off as sort of matter of fact, like, yeah, this is what I do. That is, friends, it's a result of making it your practice. One, it's really important to keep your own counsel rather than being submerged with the barrage of information and infotainment that comes from television and media, and just in general from our culture. Our ability to frame our day in the morning, as Paul and I do, we start our day either starting in gratefulness or mindfulness or meditation. We still ourselves before we walk out the door into our culture and our world. It reframes our day, it slows us down, allows us to open our perception, our ability to listen and see what's already there, which is a world full of miracles. When you step away from the rapid fire, massive distraction of our world and literally move back into a conscious, beloved relationship with self and the world you choose to be in, that's where grace and flow begins and is rooted from. Paul, dive in here with
that. Beautifully said.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. And then I think the more conscious you are of your thought streams and your language. I think this last year I've really become more conscious of my language because I realize that language reflects thoughts, which reflect beliefs. And beliefs create our reality. I see that over and over again. And language is clues to what we think. And I can hear it in people, whether they feel they are a creator of their reality or they're a victim of the fates or circumstances. And until you move into your power, which is you are the creator, self-creator, that's going to be tough. Then you're the pinball. Pinballs get knocked around randomly. And that said, like I said, if a plane crashed tomorrow into me, I would feel it I wouldn't have much thought on it. Linear level, I'd be done. But I feel like I would have somehow I would have agreed to that. It's not, we're waves playing with the ocean. And we are the ocean, the wave. And every once in a while I'm more wave. I'm thinking like, oh, I hope I make the light, or I'm hungry and I want to go eat. And sometimes when I meditate or I'm looking out across the Grand Canyon or just at a beautiful flower, I'm the ocean. I'm like, wow, I'm so expanded. And I got to say, it feels better to be the ocean in a way. But if I wasn't a wave some of the time, there's no reason to be here. And if I went to the parking lot, an ocean couldn't find its car. The wave has to be able to find its own car. And the wave, you got to be a wave to write a book or to have a partner. And so it's that wave particle thing. It's kind of beautiful, and it's a beautiful way to exist. And then I find that when you have that peace yourself, most of the time, not all the time, it's a natural, feels like as natural as breathing to want to share it, especially when you see people suffering.
Mm-hmm.
If you knew there was a water fountain everywhere around the corner for free and people were saying, I'm dying of thirst with empty cups, doesn't feel hard to go here, go there, or here, I'll pour you out of my pitcher.
And even more than it doesn't feel hard, I experience enthusiasm, great enthusiasm, in the desire to share the well, so to speak. It's our space of grace. However we climb into that sphere or reclaim that sphere from within us, which is more accurate because the moment exists in us, our grace, our flow, our source. It's all there. It's all here in the center of our hearts. Again, it's what I call a remembrance, is our returning to our essential and primary relationship, which is with self, with your heart, your beloved, and with your creator in here. And I think
you're never separate. The wave is can't be literally never a separate
never apart from the ocean.
No, it just forgets. And it's sort of beautiful to forget and remember. That's the ebb and the flow. Breathe in, breathe out, sunrise, sunset. So even if I feel disconnected mentally through thoughts and feelings or mind patterns, I've come through practice, like you get better at anything you practice. I've come to just realize, even in those moments, even right now or in a moment where I don't feel connected, I know I am. And that takes a lot of the wind out of it. And then I can just look at the mind. I'll tell you a little short, funny story. I went out, I got a new Florida driver's license. So before I went, I called and just wanted to make sure, knowing the DMV, and, that I had everything I needed. And when I got there, they gave me new information. I drove all the way, whole 15 miles on my ass, but, with no schedule on a beautiful day. Most of it was along the beach. But I get out there, and as soon as I get there, there's new information. which means I can't get the license. And I felt myself react and get upset, like no fair, how stupid the people, whatever. I didn't say any of that, luckily. But I reacted. I had a visceral hypothalamus setting off my endocrine system. And I had also brought some papers with me that showed resonance. And they said, you know, well, instead of this, do you have like a W-2 or a whatever, 1099? And I thought, oh, probably at home. So, and I had waited no time there. I was open, like red carpet, grand opening for Paul. I drive home 15 miles back along the beach, and I was observing, why am I upset? Why would I even be upset? No pain. I'm driving. It's a beautiful day. I have everything in the world. And I just observed the mind wanting to, like, be charged. And, but I just it couldn't get going because I was too much presence observing it. But it was an energy. So when I got back to the house, I got out of the car and I just roared like a lion a couple times, like ducks that do their wings, like that Eckhart Tolle story after they have a confrontation. So I released the energy. When I released the energy, I had the realization that one of the papers I had brought to prove the address would have actually been sufficient, and I wouldn't have had to drive back and forth.
It was the document they said you needed that you had.
That I didn't even realize was in my hand because I reacted and I was upset. And then I thought, everything we always need is with us. So I just laughed. I turned right around and drove back along the beach. And I have a Prius, so I get about 100 miles a gallon, which is good. And I came back in and laughed about it with the people there. And we had ended up having a beautiful conversation about presence and reacting. And I also had a ton of compassion because for my day, I spent maybe 35 minutes there.
Here's the extraordinary thing: if you
spend 8 hours or 9 hours a day there, 5 days a week, people yelling at them, and I ended up giving them all books as gifts, and we laughed, and it was a beautiful experience. So I thought, again, your point, there's always there. What I was even thinking while it was happening, what's the lesson? How can I be mad? Why would I ever get mad? But I am mad, and the mind was like, it was like old stuff. It was very interesting.
Well, one, you get mad because you start making a story up, and the story takes you out of what you're holding in your hand and what you're holding in your heart, which is standing in front of another frickin' human being. Now, the extraordinary parts of the story for me is, one, you walked into a DMV and you were the only person there that needed a license, so red carpet. Two, when you came back in the DMV, in this magical serendipitous space of new awareness, you actually engaged in a conversation about these amazing things with Martha or Mary behind the counter, and the other
was
people.
Mary. Yep.
Ha! These people in the DMV, one of the most perhaps unlikely places where you'll have a in-depth conversation about the nature of life and the flow of life. How's that happen? Because Paul asked himself, one, why am I angry? And he remembered who he was. Oh, wait, right, I'm not late for anything else. And here I had everything I need in my hand, so I'm going to celebrate the fact that I'm back in my body, back in my heart. I'm going to go back and get a license, and I'm going to go thank these people for the job they have and that they do. Where, hey, it's the DMV. Everybody's grumbling. Everybody hates to wait. And people are snapping at them all day. You brought your own grace, your own space of grace to these people. That was your gift. That was your lesson and purpose, I think, for me, in part. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, and the people, it's funny, it was like they lit up. Mary lit up, people lit up because you were interacting with them on a very human level. And then she was a reader, and so was a couple of the other people. I went and got books. So we made it a magical moment. Getting a driver's license could be renewed. It was a magical moment. It was amazing. I've never walked into a place like that and had no one there in the middle of a day, a morning. And I acknowledge that too. It just felt like it was a movie set. In retrospect, like it was a movie set.
I love
And
those moments.
cue the conscious, semi-conscious guy, the conscious guy, and then you walk in with love, compassion, any situation. And I hear these words a lot in my head. If you're going to be there, make a difference. If you're going to be there, light it up. If you're going to be there, be loving, and don't play the role of disgruntled license renewer, and they get to be grouchy, passive-aggressive DMV people. Invite them out to play. Invite their spirit out to play. Go to the place, like wherever I go here. This is my new domain. Get to know the people. Ask them questions. Invite them out to play. They light up. They light up. A lot of them are desensitized by an endless stream of drones. They numb out. But if you come in a light and you care, you can't fake it. It's not a sales gimmick, And that's another part of it I feel that is essential to allowing this flow and synchronicity. Get rid of the agenda, the ego agenda. When I was in Beverly Hills pretending to play the role of movie producer last year, or I'm in Martha's Vineyard, sometimes you meet famous people or insanely wealthy people. It's easy to have an agenda, thinking the more famous life form or the rich life form is going to change your life or give you something that you don't have, connect you to the ocean. No, I'm already connected to the ocean. There's not much more you could do. So get rid of the agenda, whether it's with the waiter for better service, the DMV person, the rich person, the famous person. Just show up and look to serve. Look to listen, and bring some love and light. You won't always be met, and then don't take that personally. But I gotta say, 9 out of 10, at least, 90%. You got to be patient, and I joke around when some people are working hard to stay in their grouchy role or whatever. It's fun humor. And
there's nothing better than messing up a perfectly effed up mood by making a person laugh.
Oh, I know. And I don't know why, even thinking back the other day on my scooter accident, I looked at it more like a Charlie Chaplin thing. I was out of body watching me just driving down a street, hitting gravel and going flying. There's something funny about that. The cuts, scrapes, and bruises aren't funny, and they still hurt, but there is something funny about a wipeout, too. And, it wasn't a plane crash, so things can always be worse. And so find the good. And this morning I walked in a grocery store and down the street, and there's probably 3 million choices for me to make. I'm living a higher level of life, a higher quality of life than any emperor that ever existed, any king. Hot water on demand. I'm talking to you in Colorado on this cool technology. I have other cool gadgets. I can listen to Eckhart Tolle or Joseph Campbell in my headset. I can read any book. I can eat whatever I want. I don't have to go hunt it down. I can ride a bike. I can walk the beach. I can get on a plane and go to Maui and swim with turtles and whales. Or I can sit in a chair and go nowhere and connect to the entirety of all there is and be completely, my ego annihilated so that I'm a merged aspect of all there is. And that feels pretty much better than anything, almost.
Yeah, indeed.
And the cliche of all cliches, the best things in life are free. I took my 90-year-old father to get a haircut a couple days ago. And his face, or I think it was a night or two ago, my mother looked at me and just said, "I'm so proud of you." Very out of the blue. The best stuff's free. My friends here have a beautiful little rescue dog. She brings me so much joy. You don't need bright shiny things, honestly, and crazy gadgets. We really do need each other, and we need love, and that's abundant and everywhere. And I just say reach out, hug some people, touch some people, buy somebody a coffee you don't know. Do crazy little things like that for pennies,
right,
that bring happiness. Studies show it's not how much money you make that really dictates happiness. beyond $75,000 is almost no difference, which is, wow, what? But it's how you spend it. And if you spend it on stuff for yourself, like gadgets, it's almost a nanosecond of satisfaction. But if you do something for someone else randomly or someone you really believe in, the high, the good feeling can last for a really long time.
Well, for both you and the person that you've made a difference
It
for.
multiplies, yeah. Or if you do a show like this where you bring people enlightenment and consciousness and hope, and maybe they get one tool, maybe someone watches this, and for an hour, one day this week, they happen to be more awake or nice, or nicer, or more great, or gratitude.
So I want to cycle forward real quick here and sort of frame this extraordinary conversation because I know your evolutionary arc. So share with people where you started, what you've done, you know, the different hats you've worn. And this is the remarkable bit of your story, Paul, that informs and inspires me, because where you've arrived now, you're setting down roots after traveling for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of prefacing the end of your story, but you've settled down roots. You've gotten clarity that the thing that feeds you, that matters most to you, is making a difference, and that you figured out your best possible job, at least for now, is being a writer and changing people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it has everything to do with what we're talking about, but tell people who you've been and what you've done to get here. List your different jobs and vocations.
And I always say that if I could travel back in time, I haven't figured that out yet, and talk to the younger me or the egocentric me and tell him, which is myself, that I would become a meditator and all this kind of stuff, he'd laugh me out of the room because he wouldn't believe it. He was so mind-based.
Mm-hmm.
So I was an athlete who became a musician, a songwriter. I went to Berklee College of Music. Then I went to Nashville and I played the piano and wrote songs and started working in the music business. Took a little time off, went to LA, came back to Nashville, started a music company, which was just who needs what done where. And it took a little time, but for me it took off, and I was able to buy a beautiful home and be generous and buy stuff and have a fabulous partner or two, wonderful women in my life. And then I just felt like that left me empty at one point. It was like I got caught up doing it. It was fun, but then once I kind of got it where it was running and just making money, I thought, oh God, this can't be all there is. You know, somebody's going to have to find me hanging. So I got out of it, even not right away, because I was scared about money and not having enough. And then I just gradually got rid of everything I owned and started to travel. And it was during that sort of period, it was when Larry David picked me up hitchhiking to Martha's Vineyard, and I became a writer, which I'd never planned on, even though I had people my whole life saying, do you ever think of being a writer? And I never, no, I didn't. And then I still kept traveling, and even after I wrote the first book, George, I kept thinking there was a career for me that made more money. And
other than being a writer.
Yeah, because you don't make a ton of money on the book, and I'd had a lot of linear people, an ex-girlfriend who, you know, she saw me as this big mogul, and we would have billions of dollars, and she would have a lot of crazy-looking shoes in her closet and purses that cost $20,000, and how we'd have houses, big houses that her friends could look and go, wow, you married a rich person. You know, I envy you. I married a cop or whatever. And no, I was a little snarky, but no, but it was a mind-based success. And so I kind of had to find that path too, because after I did book one, it was very successful, it still is. I kept thinking, what do I do next? I mean, like a job, a career. So I explored solar. I was going to be a solar developer with these big solar fields, but trying to get renewable energy going against the special interests that don't want renewable energies, a little Don Quixote. And that was part of my I got to save the planet stuff, which I don't feel anymore. I know the planet will be fine, and it doesn't need me to save it. I need to just focus on myself, and if that generates love. And then I played movie producer last spring for months in Beverly Hills, which was a blast on a level, and I'll get to write a book about that.
Mm-hmm.
But then last summer I went back to Martha's Vineyard because I had to write book 2, because I get letters a couple times a week going, "You better be writing, we want a book." And I'd also promised my good friend David McCullough, the Pulitzer Prize author in Martha's Vineyard, that I would write another book, as well as a few other people. And so while I was writing book 2 last summer in the vineyard, I just thought, oh, I forgot, I love this. And in book 2, me, the character's trying to figure out what he's supposed to do next. And it was all very apparent when it was in black and white in front of me. It's like, be happy and do what you love and keep it simple. And I don't hate it, but it didn't resonate being in the movie business. And so I thought, why would you do that? And I finished book 2 in the vineyard. I mean, the really good draft, and I finished book 3. I started book 4. And then I kind of thought I got to go do the close-up shop, almost like an empire closing up shop. I'd been in Maui and Beverly Hills and other places. So I went to each place, sold everything there or shipped some things home, gave people a lot of hugs and love and said goodbye, and then decided to just come to this paradise here on the North Shore of Florida and write books, enjoy my parents, walk the beach and eat good food and meditate, and trying to think if I left it. I want to get a dog, I think.
Yeah.
And if any of you are out there, I want to meet my partner, my soulmate. I think she's going to add a lot to this. I'm ready. And I know that'll occur in divine timing. It doesn't feel like anything's missing. It's almost like someone to share the movie with. And go, hey, look, isn't that cool? And what do you think? So it's just a wonderful time of clarity and simplicity. And maybe clarity helps you be in simplicity, and simplicity helps you get clarity. It's almost like a yin-yang. I noticed that. I just came to that thanks to you and our interaction.
Yeah.
That keep it simple, and you'll get clear. And when you get clear, I bet you'll keep it simple. And now when I see drama, damsels in distress, or come join the fight, sign the petition, let's go stand in front of a tank somewhere, throw hand grenades at Walmart or Monsanto. It's sort of like, I'm not criticizing anyone, but that doesn't feel like my path right now. If it does, I'll join it. And shift it from in here. I know I can do that. I can shift it here. So sit in the chair, eat less sugar, don't watch television. You know what I mean? Balance, exercise, little fun, friends, dogs, hot tea.
Embrace the things that feed you, feed your heart, and feed your spirit.
Don't make it hard. I see these people in these blizzards complaining. Move. Sell everything. Sell everything like I did. Even Granny's chair, yeah, burn that. So I'd sort of get rid of all that stuff. We don't buy things, they buy us, and travel light. L-I-G-H-T, be light. And you need your bare necessities. I don't want to wash my clothes by hand. I'm lucky there was a washer and dryer around. But keep it light. Yeah. Keep it light. And if you're tired of the winter, go to Maui or anywhere warm. Mm-hmm. I'd rather push a broom in Maui than be a CEO in Canada in the winter. Mm-hmm. That's my preference. If you like the winter, move to Colorado.
There you go. Well, it's what you're giving us here towards the end of our show today is a great invitation, an invitation to simplicity, be in an inner inquiry, as it were, about what matters most. That's I'm borrowing your phrase, Paul actually did write a book before these books, and it was called What Matters Most in Nashville. And that question, what matters most, still echoes in my heart, my mind. I ask myself that so often because I'm checking in. Am I on purpose? Am I living the simple, extraordinary life I desire? And for me, more often than not, and increasingly so, my answer is yes. Because why? Because I hang out with friends like Paul Samuel Dolman. I stand in the mirror and ask myself, am I being true to my heart, myself? I am an aspiring writer. I've got about 3 or 4 books in me. Paul's relationship with me has inspired me to be a writer. You know, I asked Paul one time, he was on Maui and he had written more than half of a book, and I said, how do you do that? And he said, I make my life about writing that book. Do the work. That's it. So, Paul, tell people where they can find you and pick up your book, if you would.
Thank you. Well said. You can find the book anywhere on Amazon. If you Google Hitchhiking with Larry David, you can buy it on Amazon or through the website, which is just a link to Amazon or Barnes & Noble. It's everywhere. Mm-hmm. You can buy it on the black market, too, I think. No, I don't know. And you can find me on Facebook, Paul Samuel Dolman. And hey, if you're watching this and these sort of concepts and ideas resonate, we're probably of the same tribe, the same planet. Terry something galactic federations. I don't know. It's too big for me. Yeah. But I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I'm a wave in this infinite sea of being. And check out the book. It's a very, I find the reaction has been that people are very uplifted and inspired. And I really wrote it for myself, never thinking it would be a book. And so I'm as amazed at this whole thing. And I had no expectations when the first or second person bought a book and bumped into me in Martha's Vineyard, or the first or second email I got on the internet from I loved your book. I couldn't believe it. Or if a movie producer or whatever liked it, an English professor, it was so over the top because I didn't plan any of that. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I still get that way. Whenever I get a note, I can't believe it, or a praise. And I kind of have taken that in the same way. When I wake up in the morning, I go, wow, I can't believe I woke up. And I can't believe I get to go into a grocery store and have 3 million choices. And when I want a green juice, I can drive down and talk to the cool green juice bar people and get a green juice. And if I want to go to Maui and ride around on a scooter for 3 years and swim with whales and dolphins and turtles, I get to do that. It's amazing. I'm just, and for what, 5 seconds, I'm going to be this here on a magnet hurtling through space. And so I don't, I don't really care what the Kardashians are doing or not doing, or the politics and the name calling. Doesn't feel good. I can't do anything about it. If somebody said, here, watch this, and by watching it you could change the world to peace, I'd, yes, count me, yeah. Where do I pull my lever? But if somebody kept inviting me into a booth to pull a lever where nothing changed, I probably would do other more productive things like clean out the parrot cage.
And stop pulling the damn lever.
Yeah, I probably would meditate on, I'd want to say, who owns the lever company? What are they, why? What's going on here, So find what makes you happy, like Joseph Campbell, one of the great teachers, said, follow your bliss, find your bliss, follow your bliss, and then hang on to it. Enjoy the short, sweet ride. I would say count your blessings, change your expectations to thank yous, gratitude. Gratitude's just a great thing. And those little paradigm shifts, who knows what will happen. Maybe you'll write a book or start a book club or a juice bar, or I don't know.
Climb a mountain.
There's a seed within all of us, climb a mountain, start a podcast, a cool thing, coaching business, painting business, start painting. There's so many possibilities. But I would say there's a seed within you, and unless you water it and give it time, it'll never grow. So spend some time with the seed within you, the real seed, and see what comes. And boy, you'll probably be as surprised and animated about it as I am.
Indeed.
And it'll play with you. Life plays with you. I find it to be very playful, very playful.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul, for bringing your grace and your particular movie that you're in to this little corner of the movie playground, the Mindfulness Advantage Show. We've been talking with Paul Samuel Dolman, my dear friend, and author of Hitchhiking with Larry David. Bring it over. There it is. You can go to hitchhikingwithlarrydavid.com and pick the book up or find it on Amazon. I'm just so grateful for you being here with me today, my friend. And now it's time for us to move into our final segment of the show, Your Moments in Mindfulness. Wow. What a great conversation we've been having here, friends. It's indisputable. The fact is, when we pour the entirety of ourselves into the singular moment of now, there are indeed no ordinary moments. Yet through our unconscious habits and conditioning, we most often view and experience the world through our own false filters of familiarity. It's now a known scientific fact that we all manufacture and simulate our subjective realities based on what we think, believe, and expect. More often than not, those realities are burdened by our perceptions and expectations of limited possibilities. Neuroscience has recently discovered this amazing fact. When you rest the entirety of your attention upon whatever is in front of you or active in the moment, as well as the subject of your mindful attentions, quite literally transforms. The most powerful reality here is this: your moments of mindfulness is that your pointed focus and attention activates your brain in specific and extraordinary ways. And when your mindful state activates your brain, you are quite literally changing and building the structure of your brain in a most extraordinary and positive way. This is the science and art of neuroplasticity through a simple, powerful practice of simply being mindful. It's your own direct ability to cultivate, grow, and improve your brain and mind and generate the flow and grace we've been talking about. So imagine now being smarter, faster, flowing in and with any moment, more intuitive and in tune with your outer and inner environments, relationships, and your desired outcomes. These are all just a few of the generative qualities of being mindful. It's true, every moment holds within itself the most extraordinary of potentials, as do you. The most simple and elegantly powerful catalyst you can call up from within yourself is your mindful focus and attention, where you can and do quite literally transform your life and your world. This, my friends, is your new frontier of fulfillment and the fruition of your dreams and visions. This is your next and greatest adventure. Welcome to your new playground. Let's play. I'm your host, George E. Green, and this is your Mindfulness Advantage Show. We'll see you right here next week on the interwebs. Join us, friends. Again, my thanks to Paul Samuel Dolman, and we'll see you next week, friends.